As I look back, that excitement continues to
Do you have an
illuminate
HDMI out
its
on
way
here?
through
Can you
St.
come out and
Augustine's
come into the
University.
computer? Because that brings
Because the
audio too.
family that is Falcon Pride is one that is strong.
I mean, this is just a
You all
monitor.
may
They don't
have
have no audio
amazing
running through there.
days, making
No,
great
I'm just
connections,
recording this separate.
feeling positive and full of energy. And sometimes you'll hit a low, where you may not know where it comes from or even
What
where
time
to
you
go.
want to?
Either way, always
We
remember
do it now.
that
Yeah, I have
despite
to, man.
any
10
challenges
o'clock.
that you may
Y'all let us know
face,
ahead of time.
Because you have to
you're
every
always
minute.
Extra stuff.
one
We can
step
just patch in.
away from walking
Don't
into
need it.
your success.
Because we got
You see,
everything that you want.
at St. Augustine's
But we
University,
only bring the
our
extra stuff.
experience is
Otherwise,
one that is more than
we
unique
bring extra stuff, you know.
than any
Yeah,
other
there have to be some
historically
for the
black
future.
college and university. And that is what brings us to new heights. Join me as we step forward. Every step is another accomplishment, another battle won, and another day on earth to make a difference. Welcome to the class of 2022, the exuberant class of 2022, and to all classifications here at St. Augustine's University, and a very special welcome to my babies, the class of 2025, Falcon Pride.
He's going to start in 2 minutes.
What wonderful remarks by Miss 71st. Let's give her another round of applause, guys. First of all, good morning. Our thoughts and our prayers go with our Falcon brother today. But I want to say to the faculty, students, and staff, greetings and welcome to the 2021 Fall Convocation. I will be brief. I want to say to the class of 2025, congratulations and welcome to the Falcon Nation. Leadership, academic excellence, and integrity. These are some qualities a Falcon scholar encompasses. My charge to the freshman class is to keep on soaring to new heights. And remember, to carry the tradition of excellence. And to the class of 2022, my senior class. Today marks our final steps in our journey to graduation. We have overcome a lot in our 4 years. Let us remain vigilant, determined, and motivated as we push forward and finish strong. And to all the classes here today, let us remember to always do our Falcon best. I wish everybody a safe and productive remainder of the semester. And once again, congratulations to the class of 2025. Thank you all.
And now, we welcome to the podium our 13. This would be the 13th president of St. Augustine's University. She stands head and shoulders above presidents and chancellors of other institutions. She is the realness in all higher ed leadership. She has been here and there. She knows everybody and has told them what to do. She is now here leading and guiding St. Augustine's University to new heights. We are excited about her presence. We are excited about what she does. And now, Dr. Christine Johnson McPhail.
Good morning, Falcon. I'm going to see if I can follow Dr. Sampson's instructions and abbreviate my comments. So I'm going to say to the class of 2025, welcome. We want you to know that you have selected the right institution. We don't make admissions mistakes. So you are here, and we want you to be with us when it's your turn to say that you have completed your journey. So welcome. Stay focused. Go to class. Go to class. Go to class. Go to class. Oh, I'm sounding repetitive. But that is exactly what we want you to do. Is that right, faculty? You can't teach an empty seat, can we? Right, so we had to go to class. So those of you who are on the cusp of finishing your journey, thank you for showing us that you finish what you start. You have faculty who've invested in you. You have a community of Falcons who are not in the classroom who have supported you. That's who we are here. That's what we do. We have Falcon soar. So, this is a convocation. It's historical. It embodies who we are as a historically black college and university in this community. You are students, you are our product, and we want you to soar high. So thank you for participating in the day. I know it's not the most comfortable part of the morning for you. We saw a falcon go down and we saw falcons fly to the rescue, didn't we? And we will continue to pray for our young brother to be healed of whatever it is that brought him down this morning. He'll walk and he'll soar high later this afternoon. So thank you, Dr. Sampson. I'm going to turn the program back over to you. And let's continue to soar the way falcons do, because we are no ordinary bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McPhail. And now I would like for you to receive one of our Falcon superstars that is still on the rise, that will introduce today's speaker, Miss sophomore, Miss Rashay Bird.
Good morning. Good morning, Falcon family. My name is Brasha Bird. I'm actually a junior, just to put that out there. It's okay. I'm also a member on the women's basketball team. I'm a proud Lady Falcon, a proud daughter of SAU, and a motivational speaker and the author of Self-Love, Love Self, a book that's dedicated to anyone on a journey to self-love. So I am truly pleased to have the chance to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Adam Harris. Mr. Harris is the staff writer at the Untitled, covering education. He had a winding path to journalism. He always knew he wanted to do something he found important and necessary. I was always interested in telling stories, he says. He freelanced for a while before finding his niche at the Chronicle for Higher Education, before he moved to the Atlantic. It was kind of a natural fit. I had an interest in federal policy and black colleges, he said. At the Atlantic, he does a mix of breaking news and longer-term projects. It's always something new, he said. Every day is different. You're always working on a story and chasing something different. I'm not always cooped up in a newsroom. I get to go out in the field and talk to people. As a journalist, you get to talk to people all day, which is one of the best and benefits of the job. Mr. Harris has been reviewed as illuminating, a well-researched, potent, timely investigation of yet another element of systemic racism, Kirkus Reviews. Harris's writing is refreshing as it is haunting. The State Must Provide is a must-read detailing the complex dynamics that both reflect our nation's dark history and show us the way toward a more equitable future, New York Times Book Review. Adam Harris is a brilliant storyteller. He has used his unique literary gifts to synthesize 2 centuries of history in order to construct an historical account of higher education that reads like a novel. The State Must Provide is a book that both taught me so much and also kept me on the edge of my seat. It is an invaluable text from a extremely talented writer, Clint Smith, author of #1 New York Times bestseller, How the World is Past. Administrators, faculty, staff, my fellow peers, and alumni, please join me in welcoming Mr. Adam Harris, who is an alumni of Alabama A&M University with Falcon Love. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you all, and thank you, Ms. Bird, for the kind introduction. To the President, Dr. Christine Johnson McPhail, Dr. Sampson, administrators, faculty, and staff, and most importantly, the students. What an honor it is to be with you all to celebrate this 155th Fall Convocation at this illustrious institution. And before I begin my formal remarks, I, like everyone else, like to offer my thoughts to your Falcon brother, and what I saw in that moment of crisis was you all coming together as a community to support your brother, and it actually really dovetails with what I want to say today. So A little over a decade ago, I was sitting in a seat like this as a freshman at Alabama A&M University, and as a public HBCU, we had a chapel, but it wasn't one that the students regularly attended. So I was in search of a church home, and I stumbled upon what would become my family's church home after they relocated to Huntsville, and became good friends with the pastor there. And during one of our meetings, I had some trouble figuring out, how to clarify my thoughts. And so I asked him, right, how do you prepare a sermon? How do you do this week by week? Stand up in front of a crowd and say things. And he gave me 2 pieces of advice. He said, try to keep it short and to make your points clear. But I had never heard him give a short sermon, so I'm going to try to do as he said and not as he did. So, by becoming students at St. Augustine University, you all have joined a powerful legacy. Over the last several years in my time at The Atlantic and in writing my book, I've had a lot of time to think and write about historically black colleges and their legacies, what they provided for black students when no one else would. And so I want to speak this morning a bit about that legacy that you all are a part of. And it would be a crime to come to St. Augustine and to discuss the legacy and not begin with Dr. Anna Julia Cooper. Born into slavery before the Civil War, Cooper earned a scholarship to attend St. Augustine's Normal School and Industrial Institute, which had just opened its doors in 1867 and became the school's first graduate in 1877. Cooper ultimately went on to earn degrees at Oberlin, became the first African-American woman to earn a PhD from the Sorbonne in France, and became one of the most prominent black intellectuals in American history, though she often does not receive the credit she deserves. And that began right here at St. Augustine. So as I was preparing my address today, I was thinking a lot about Dr. Cooper, and I sat with her book, her seminal essay collection, A Voice from the South, which was published in the 1890s, and which was a landmark not only for its intersectional examination of race and gender, but for the remarkable granularity which she spoke of the lived experiences of black women and black men in America. Her authorial voice was at once of the moment and, in our times, deeply prescient. But there's one section that stuck with me, and that's the one I'd like to meditate on for a moment today. So in one of her essays, Cooper wrote about the state of black people 2 decades after slavery, about where we had been, where we were, and where we needed to go. The race is just 21 years removed from the conception and experience of a chattel, just at the age of ruddy manhood, she wrote. It is well enough to pause a moment for retrospection, introspection, and prospection. We look back not to become inflated with conceit because of the depths from which we have arisen, but that we may learn from experience. We look within that we may gather together once more our forces, and by improved and more practical methods address ourselves to the tasks before us. We look forward with hope and trust that the same God whose guiding hands led our fathers through and out of the gall and bitterness of oppression will still lead and direct their children to the honor of his name and for their ultimate salvation. Cooper used this tripartite formulation, retrospection, introspection, and prospection, to consider black womanhood. But it's a useful formulation by which to consider this day and the legacy you all are joining. Also, I would be outside of the black religious tradition if I also did not put my speech into 3 parts, and so that's what I'm going to do. So, first, retrospection, looking back. So before the Civil War, the moral bent of some professors at some Christian institutions and some northern non-religious institutions pushed them to oppose slavery. They became abolitionists. But what to do with black people once they were free of the infernal institution was another question, and educate them was seldom the answer. When the war ended and St. Augustine's was established, it housed 4 students in an old army barracks. It was chartered by the Freedmen's Aid Commission of the Protestant Episcopal Church in the 1860s as the whispers from recently enslaved black people grew into screams. They wanted job opportunities and they wanted education. Nationally, the federal government had given states land which they could sell or use to build colleges. When the founding fathers talked about colleges and higher education, they pointed to that as a place where people could learn the arts and the sciences, but also as a place where they could develop and learn the principles of citizenship. But as the 1860s rolled around, there were places to teach men the art of manslaying, as they called it. There were places to teach people to be lawyers and doctors, but there weren't places to teach the workers. So in 1862, Congress passed the Morrill Act for the expansion of education to the masses, but the masses did not include black people who were shut out of these opportunities. Though St. Augustine's was not formally a college at the time, it and institutions like it became a refuge, a launching pad for black students into ministry, teaching, and the trades. When, by 1878, as Reconstruction, the period of racial progress after the Civil War that saw the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, or what the historian Eric Foner calls America's Second Founding, ended, and the fervor around black education waned, white North Carolinians became incensed by the institution that was raising these black students up. Northern philanthropists vowed out of funding the school, and yet the institution found a way to persist. It sold some of its land to sustain itself. Educators like Anna Julia Cooper continued to teach students the classics, math, history, English, and music. They poured into students like Henry Beard Delaney, who after attending St. Augustine's became the first black person elected suffrage bishop of the Episcopal Church in the U.S. The institution had a charge to educate black students. And between 1881 and 1896, even as that funding was drying up and a fire destroyed a significant portion of campus, the institution expanded its enrollment, built new buildings, and hired faculty and staff. As the hymn says, a charge to keep I have. As the needs of black Americans changed from simply needing primary education to needing continuing and higher education, St. Augustine's and other HBCUs changed with it. It became a junior college in 1919 and became a four-year school roughly a decade later. But it still maintained its character as a refuge, as a place where faculty and staff would pour into students, and students could grow into themselves. As one professor wrote in the St. Augustine's record in 1930, the pleasant and helpful relation between student and teacher are among those things that have been found good and will, I hope, continue unchanged throughout the years of continual progress for which St. Augustine's is destined. That relation is a part of what creates the environment for what the scholar Jelani Favors has called the second curriculum students receive from faculty at an institution built for them. And that leads me to Cooper's second point, introspection. You see, that second curriculum provides students with a consciousness, the knowledge of what they need to do to make progress, not only for themselves, but for their community as well. And when I first read Favors on that second curriculum, he talked about how his parents had learned that curriculum at an HBCU. My own parents, who attended Alabama State and Alabama A&M respectively, told me and my sisters to attend an HBCU for some of those same reasons. But, you know, when your parents tell you something, it's like, oh, well, okay. And it takes learning it yourself or experiencing it yourself in order to see it. So what is that second curriculum in practice? A quick story. When I was a student at A&M, I had aced this history test, absolutely crushed it. I was excited and, I studied hard, like really, really hard. And it was the second time that I'd done really well on a test that some of my classmates had struggled on. And as an aside, the faculty in the Department of Behavioral Sciences where I studied often said that I was in the building so much that they should just give me a job, and ultimately they did end up hiring me as a student assistant. And so I had a very good relationship with the professors. And the professor who taught the class called me into her office after we had received our test grades, and she told me she was happy that I did well. But she asked me why I hadn't helped any of my classmates study for the exam as well. And I remember that moment because it made me reconsider what I thought of as success. Was success simply climbing on my own, or was it bringing others along with me? Cooper predictably put it much more eloquently than my story about acing an exam. It's absurd to quote statistics showing the Negro's bank account and rent rolls, to point to the hundreds of newspapers edited by colored men and lists of doctors, lawyers, professors, DDs, LLDs, etc., 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 while the source from which the lifeblood of the race is to flow is subject to taint and corruption in the enemy's camp, she wrote. The goal, then, should not just be to work towards singular achievement, but growth together. And that growth is a continual process. It shouldn't stop. It is what becomes a legacy. Or, as she said, true progress is never made by spasms. Real progress is growth. It must begin in the seed. Then, first the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. The defiant seed of St. Augustine's was planted in that old army barracks in the middle of the 19th century. You all, who are now a part of that legacy, will grow as individuals and together in that same fertile soil. The administrators, faculty, and staff will pour into you, and together you will bloom. Which leads me to Cooper's final point, prospection. The act of exploring possible futures, looking forward. And the beautiful thing about prospection is you never actually know what the future holds. We're not sure which of you will be lawyers, or doctors, or social workers, or educators, or electricians, or writers, or engineers, or stay-at-home moms and dads who are their children's first teachers. And dreaming of the future is the gift of youth, and so we want you to do that. But I implore you all, as Cooper did, to remember that you also have power in the present, that you have agency in the present. The mingled hopes and fears for the future must not degenerate into mere dreaming, nor consume the time which belongs to the practical and effective handling of the crucial questions of the hour, Cooper tells us. We need men and women who do not exhaust their genius splitting hairs on aristocratic distinctions and thanking God they are not as others, but earnest, unselfish souls who can go into the highways and byways, lifting up and leading, advising and encouraging. My journey at Alabama A&M, that is what I learned, that it is our responsibility to go in, to do the work, and lift others up. And in your journey at St. Augustine's, you will get the chance to explore those crucial questions, the most pressing questions of our time, to build upon the legacy that began so long ago, to be earnest and lift up and lead and advise and encourage. That we are all standing here today is a testament to the administrators, faculty, and students who lived, worked, and learned on this campus before us. And I know that you all will make them proud. Congratulations on joining a beautiful legacy, and I can't wait to see what you all do.
Falcon Pride. Falcon Pride. On behalf of the Falcons gathered here today, and those who walked before us even before today, and those that will come in the future, thank you for joining us today. I want you to know that second curriculum is our legacy, isn't it, faculty? You live and breathe it every day. Thank you so much for putting us on the path again today, keeping us centered and focused on who we are. Appreciate you very much.
The second portion of today's program involves the freshman induction. As I said, we are on the fly. We do not want to prolong the time. We want to expedite what we do. So I'm going to ask members of the senior class officers and the freshman class officers to come forward. I'm also going to ask student trustee Washington to come forward.
Don't walk in front of the camera.
And before Trustee Washington gives the Falcon pledge to the entire freshman class, to expedite the time, the senior class officers representing the entire senior class will now be pinning the freshman class officers representing the entire freshman class.
Everyone. As Dr. Sampson said, I am Maria Washington, your Student Board of Trustees representative, also a member of the senior class of 2022. Class of 2025, it gives me great pleasure to take the Falcon Promise Pledge with you. If you could please stand and repeat after me. Everyone in the class of 2025, please stand. Please repeat after me. I promise that I will be ethical in my academic work. I will use my education in service to humanity. I will take personal responsibility for what I say and what I do. I will respect the dignity of others, treating them with civility and understanding. I will engender the 4 pillars of character, scholarship, leadership, and service. I will honor the legacy of this university and carry the stone of hope in my heart. We wish you much success. To represent the senior class pinning the freshman class as siblings in the Falcon family, the senior class officer representing the entire senior class have already pinned the freshman class officers. Welcome to the Falcon family. You may be seated.
Moving forward, President McPhail has charged me with giving the charge to this class. In lieu of the 3 pages of charge that are printed, I'm going to put the charge in a quick story. We are all familiar with the March on Washington, where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave the famous I Have a Dream speech. Many people do not realize that he was not supposed to give that speech that day. He was not on the program that day. He was just a member of the committee to set up that day. Out of courtesy, someone just said, oh, yeah, we have Martin here. Let him talk at the end of the day. At the end of this day, when they had had speaker after speaker, they were in the sun all day long. It is now the late hour, and everybody is ready to go eat. Somewhat like this one. At the urging, he began his words, and at the urging of Miss Mahalia Jackson, sitting behind him to say, tell him about the dream, Martin, tell him about the dream. You see, he wasn't going to give that speech because he had given that speech before in Detroit, the week before, and a couple of other places, en route to Washington, D.C. But he launched into that speech, and he gave what is arguably the world's most famous speech, I Have a Dream. My charge comes to you in what happened after this speech, where he was approached by a reporter that asked him, with this push for civil rights, with this push to do this, to do what has never been done before, with this push to be more than what you have been recognized as being, do you think that you have made any small mistake in what you have been doing? The charge comes in his response, which was, I can't make any small mistakes. Class of 2025, you can't make any small mistakes going forward. You can't make any small mistakes in class. You can't make any small mistakes in the people that you associate with. You can't make any small mistakes in anything that you do. Everything that you do must be intentional and be about your greatness and be about the greatness of uplifting others. That's what your charge is on this day and going forward. We want to say thank you to the Convocation Day Committee. There are names and names and names. Everybody who played a part in getting this set up, thank you. Everybody who has witnessed what has happened here, thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for supporting this Falcon family. Thank you for being a part of this Falcon family. Now, please stand for the singing of the Alma Mater, which will be followed by the benediction by Reverend Stevens and the retiring of the colors. Then you will be seated for the recessional. And so we are still on the fly. We will do the invocation, the benediction, and we will sing the Alma Mater, but we will not be retiring the colors, so you will have a seat for the recession.
Please stand. Beloved, as I witness the love and care we poured into our well wishes and prayers for our Falcon brother, and as I listen to Mr. Harris talk to us about the retrospection, inspection, and prospection that flows from this place, I was put in mind of another North Carolinian, a poet known as Jermaine Cole, aka J. Cole. And J. Cole says in his song Neighbors, welcome to the shelter, it is pure. And so today we have welcomed the class of 2025 to the shelter. We have welcomed Mr. Harris. We welcome again and let the class of 2020 know that this will always be your shelter. As you embark on your last steps toward the stage, toward graduation, know that we, the faculty and staff of this institution, will be here to welcome you back and cheer you on. Welcome to the shelter. This is pure. Now go with the grace of our God, the loving, liberating, and life-giving God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.